It's Reed Young, aka Shuda here. I'm going to be reviewing this $400 buy-in 6-max hand. It's deep stacked, we're out of position, and we're trying to figure out how to get some value from strong hand, and then we kind of run into a strange river. So let's see what happens and break it down step by step here. So the button raises to $8, which is a minimum raise. We call in the small blind with ace-jack offsuit, and the big blind calls as well. I think you could re-raise pre-flop, but if you're going to be getting 4-bet off the best hand, or I guess if you're going to be 4-bet and then not know how to continue, I think calling is going to have more value than 3-betting and then being confused about what to do if you're facing another raise. Additionally, you're never really going to flop amazingly strong, and so 3-betting out of position with this type of hand is going to be pretty gross if you're playing against a good player 200 big blinds deep. So I wouldn't hate a re-raise, and I think it's probably good to do some percentage of the time, and a lot of people will probably give you credit for a bit more polarized range, something that wouldn't include ace-jack. So you can maybe get some value when your range appears polarized a bit more often, but in general, I think the call is fine. So moving on to the flop, we flop top 2, which is about the best hand that we could hope to see, and on a board where there's a lot of possible gut shots. Additionally, this is a board that the button is going to bet when we check to him extremely often. So you could lead here, because I think you get 3 streets very often where people tend to get a bit more cautious, maybe even overly cautious, deeper stacked, just because they're worried about getting check raised on any street, and it's I guess because it's tougher to stack off deep stacked. But really, if you're against the right person who's just betting too much air and pot controlling too many value hands, you can really take advantage of it deep stacked by check raising pretty often. So, and of course with the balanced range, that is. So what's going to happen here is we check to the button and he bets 2/3 pot. Nothing really special there. We expect to see it quite a bit, and we decided to call. I think it's okay, and it's easy to balance because we can call here with a lot of hands like King 10 offsuit, or something like King 10 of spades or King 10 of diamonds, what have you. There's a lot of floats that we could have, a lot of gut shots, 4-5, Queen 10, King 10, stuff like that. So when we call the flop, I think our range isn't necessarily that strong to continue, and the fact that we're deep stacked means that we probably have a lot more medium strength hands in our range than we would have had if we were only 100 big blinds effective. So those are good reasons for just slow playing on the flop. Additionally, we'll let the big blind, who isn't quite as deep as everyone else, let him make a couple moves if we want him to. So we've called, the big blind folds. On the turn, it's the 8 of spades, so it's the second spade. We check to the button, he again bets, which we would expect him to do with a fairly wide range, just trying to fold out our floats or put some pressure on a pair of jacks and put us into a difficult spot on the turn and or the river. And we decide here to check raise. And I think this is a great play with this hand and with this situation, because we have a good chance to represent a lot of air, like Queen 10 that picked up a double gutter on the turn, and now we're trying to get him to fold like King High or maybe a weak pair of aces by the river. He calls. On the river, we have a question, and I think it's a clear bet. This is a river we would want to get value on with our flushes, and we could also be bluffing with our gut shots again. So I think we do get called by a pair of aces pretty often if you're against a good player. The only word of caution would be if we're against a player who can shove as a bluff here, especially with an ace of spades blocker, which I think is probably pretty likely for him to have, then you're going to have a close decision between bet calling and bet folding. So I hope you guys enjoyed this hand review. If you do, share it with a poker friend and hit that like button. Take care, guys.